Stop crying in the total darkness of your room and thinking that you have been completely abandoned by your Creator. Wipe those bitter, heavy tears from your eyes this very second, hold your breath, and freeze your fingers right above your screen, because if you dare to swipe away from this transmission in the next 3 seconds, you will commit the most catastrophic financial and spiritual mistake of your entire existence. You will be turning away the highest-ranking angelic courier who has just materialized at your exact physical coordinates, carrying the divine clearance keys to the unsaid midnight prayers you thought were forgotten forever. This is not a casual piece of internet entertainment. This is a supreme cosmic breakthrough transmission authorized directly by the Grand Judiciary of the High Court of Heaven. Tonight, the invisible hand of the Almighty has intercepted this broadcast to deliver an explosive, time-sensitive decree. Every single agonizing tear you have dropped onto your pillow in the dead of night since the year 1990 has been collected, measured, and turned into an active legal case for your immediate financial vindication. Do not close this video, do not move from this spot, and do not let doubt steal this moment, because your long season of hidden humiliation is facing a violent, unyielding celestial termination right now. Look closely at the cold, suffocating weight that has been pressing down on your chest for as long as you can remember. You have spent years putting on a brave face for the world, smiling through the crushing stress during the day, only to collapse onto your bed at night, drowning in a silent panic about your mounting bills, your broken credit, and the terrifying fear that you will never break out of this exhausting cycle of economic survival. You have looked at your parents' lifelong struggles, felt the heavy burden of your family name, and quietly concluded that maybe you were just destined to carry this anxiety until your final breath. But I am here to completely interrupt that demonic deception with a chattering, absolute truth. Your silent weeping was never a sign of your weakness, it was the building up of a supernatural reservoir. For over 3 decades, since the year 1990, the enemy has tried to weaponize a spirit of total abandonment against your mind, trying to convince you that your prayers were bouncing off a ceiling of brass and that God had turned his back on your material needs. But tonight, the sovereign ruler of the universe is breaking his silence to execute an aggressive, full-scale raid on the storehouses of lack that have kept you bound. Do not be fooled by the deceptive, quiet atmosphere of the room you are sitting in right now. In the United States, you are surrounded by a hyper-secularized, cold economic grid that tells you your worth is entirely dictated by your current bank balance, your corporate ladder, and your tax bracket, completely blinding you to the fact that your material destiny is won or lost in the unseen realm. The principalities of scarcity do not want you to know that your midnight tears are highly valued currency in the courts of heaven. Have you ever wondered why an overwhelming sense of dark hopelessness and financial panic always attacks your mind right before a major breakthrough is about to materialize in your life? That is the spiritual adversary trying to force you to surrender your crown out of emotional exhaustion before you can ever claim your physical inheritance. They want you to believe that you are entirely alone in this battle, but tonight, the invisible hand is stepping into your bedroom not to give you shallow sympathy, but to enforce a sovereign restitution protocol over your bank accounts. I have seen the whispers you could not hear. I heard the spirits of generational poverty and rejection meeting in the freezing shadows of the spirit world, reviewing the history of your family line. They laughed as they pointed to the unrewarded sweat of your ancestors and your own hidden tears, boasting, "We have successfully broken their spirit. We have made them believe that their cries are unheard, and they will die in the exact same deficit they were born into. They will never own the land. They will never sign the multi-million-dollar contracts, and their children will inherit the same panic." They had already finalized the spiritual paperwork to ensure that your future would be permanently capped by financial misery and silent breakdown. They thought your quiet despair was your final surrender to their tyranny. But the High Court of Heaven has just issued a supreme territorial mandate over your life. The sovereign judge has counted every single night you cried yourself to sleep. He has calculated the exact amount of uncompensated labor stolen from your bloodline, and he has ordered an immediate, crushing demolition of the invisible walls that blocked your supply. Do not get fooled into believing that you can just scroll past this warning, shut your eyes, and try to fix your family's financial destiny through normal, slow, human strategies tomorrow morning. If you turn off this message, you are telling the angelic task force to abort the deployment. You are making a conscious, terrifying choice to remain inside the frequency of the struggling victim, leaving your household completely exposed to the financial predators that drained your youth and stole your parents' peace of mind. If you leave, you are signing the warrant for your own continued stagnation. But if you stand your ground, if you lock your eyes onto this transmission and allow this commanding word to utterly dissolve the slave mindset that has been programmed into your subconscious, you will witness the most violent financial turnaround in your family's history. The invisible hand is rewriting the master database of your material existence. You are moving away from the frequency of the forgotten casualty and stepping straight into the absolute, unshakable authority of the first-generation wealth anchor. I saw the secret meetings where the spiritual gatekeepers of limitation planned your final financial and emotional collapse for the year 2026. They had already arranged the next sequence of unexpected bills, the next wave of closed doors, and the next set of systemic traps to ensure you would never break past the glass ceiling of lack. They wanted you to get comfortable living on the crumbs of society, always begging for a break, always living at the mercy of someone else's signature, and always crying in secret. But the bloodline lockdown has been completely compromised by a higher, sovereign power tonight. The invisible hand is moving the spiritual boundary lines of your life while your oppressors are sleeping. When you wake up tomorrow morning, the old, heavy cloud of depression that made your shoulders slouch will be completely vaporized. You will walk out of your house carrying an unexplainable, commanding sense of territorial authority. Do not be fooled. This is the definitive 0 hour for your legacy, your money, and your sanity. If you shut down this message, you are stepping back into the ancestral prison out of sheer hesitation and locking the cell from the inside. You are telling the spirits of limitation that they were right about you, that your family was meant to stay small, dependent, and broken forever. But if you lock your focus into this truth, if you let this commanding word destroy every single root of hereditary fear in your heart, you are signing the ultimate eviction notice against lack. The boundary lines are falling in pleasant places for your children. The territory is opening up. Your past years are no longer your blueprint. The entire treasury of the king is your playground. Stand up, brace your spirit, and prepare for the violent shift, while your spirit is still vibrating under the sudden, shocking realization that your secret pain has been entirely documented by the heavens. A supreme administrative restructuring is taking place within the highest vaults of the spirit realm. I am here to expose the absolute, terrifying precision of the invisible hand. Right now, as you sit under the heavy shadow of this emergency transmission, Almighty God is entering the central record rooms of your destiny. He is not just giving you a temporary emotional relief or a brief moment of psychological comfort, he is executing a permanent, cosmic tier-to-asset transformation. Deep within the legal courts that monitor the multi-generational suffering of your lineage, the sovereign judge is physically pulling out the ancient, dust-covered sorrow ledger, the exact spiritual book that recorded every single instant of financial humiliation you have suffered, every agonizing night of total loneliness, and every cold, bitter rejection that has haunted your name since 1990. The invisible hand is taking that entire history of deficit and completely blocking it from your timeline, forcing the matrix of reality to convert your past pain into an immediate, liquid flow of tangible assets and residual wealth. Do not be fooled by the current emptiness of your hands or the persistent, cold reality of the financial anxiety that has been suffocating your mind for the past 3 decades. Those material limitations are nothing more than the fading shadows of a fraudulent system that has just been legally liquidated in the Supreme Court of Heaven. You have been conditioned by years of systemic hardship to view your tears as a sign of permanent defeat, believing that the emotional trauma of watching your parents struggle, the shame of being passed over for opportunities, and the constant fear of sudden economic collapse were just the price you had to pay for existing. But the invisible hand is completely interrupting that ancestral slavery tonight. The heavy, iron safe locks where the enemy guarded the spiritual deeds to your joy and your labor have been shattered by a celestial strike. The safe is broken. The ancient records of lack are being wiped clean, and the very tears that used to soak your pillow in the dead of night are being reprogrammed by the Creator to manifest as land deeds, global business contracts, and unshakable streams of passive income. I have seen the whispers you could not hear. I heard the spirits of regret and chronic scarcity gathering around your family tree, verifying the strength of the emotional and financial curses they laid down decades ago. They boasted that they had successfully wired a rejection protocol directly into your life force, ensuring that no matter how hard you labor, no matter how brilliant your creative ideas are, and no matter how many connections you try to build, you would always end up right back in the dirt of isolation and lack. They pointed to the unrewarded sweat of your parents and the silent trauma of your childhood as permanent, unshakable legal proof that your bloodline was bound to the frequency of the poor. But the sovereign Lord of the universe has stood up on your behalf, banged his supreme gavel in the courtroom of justice, and declared their evidence entirely null and void. The invisible hand is erasing their software from your timeline. The old sorrow ledger is gone, and the lack that used to follow your name is being inverted into a massive, liquid supply of capital. Do not get fooled into expecting a slow, natural, traditional process of emotional and financial recovery. Linear recovery is the slow trap of the world, designed to keep you working until your youth is entirely gone before you can ever enjoy your freedom. The tier-to-asset transformation operates on the immediate, explosive frequency of a sovereign divine override. Tomorrow morning, as the physical world resets, a sudden, unprecedented shift is going to collide with your material reality. It will manifest as an unexplainable legal settlement in your family's favor, a massive corporate breakthrough, the sudden wipeout of an old debt you thought you would carry for life, or an unexpected inheritance contract that will leave your natural human intellect completely paralyzed with shock. This news is the undeniable materialization of the clean ledger. It is the physical proof that your ancestral routing codes have been switched. The universe is being forced to recognize that you are no longer the product of a broken, struggling bloodline, but the sovereign executor of a kingdom estate. I saw the secret meetings where the financial gatekeepers planned to pass your parents' struggles down to your children for the next 30 years. They had already calculated how much interest they could extract from your labor, how long they could keep your credit broken, and how to ensure your business ideas never received the funding they deserved. They thought they had your last name permanently blacklisted in the registry of the dependent, using your past heartbreaks as the anchor to hold you down. But the invisible hand has walked straight through their security firewalls and deleted your file from their servers. Their names have been removed from the authority column, and your name has been written in the golden ink of the covenant. You are moving away from the frequency of the generational casualty and taking your seat as the primary wealth anchor of your lineage. In the United States, you are surrounded by an economic grid that teaches you that you must carry the financial sins and limitations of your past, working yourself to the bone just to maintain a fraction of survival while hiding your pain behind a fake smile. But I am here to interrupt that Babylonian protocol tonight. There is a supernatural deletion of liability and sorrow occurring in your atmosphere at this exact second. The invisible hand is erasing the spiritual mortgages, the generational taxations, and the demonic blockages that made your parents' lives so bitter and restricted. The lease of the oppressor over your family's capacity has officially expired. You are no longer paying tribute to a curse that seeks to minimize your presence. You are now the sole owner of a completely cleared estate that is backed by the infinite reserves of the Creator. I have seen the whispers you could not hear, and I am deleting them with the absolute authority of the liquidated ledger. The enemy thought he could permanently tame your bloodline by keeping you wrapped in a blanket of constant emotional and financial survival. He thought if you were terrified of the future and broken by rejection, you would eventually accept your smallness and forget that you were born to rule. But the decree of tier 2 asset conversion has just been signed by the High Court of Heaven. The terror of the debtor is being completely extinguished by the immovable confidence of the first-generation millionaire. Tomorrow, you will walk with a completely different posture because you will realize that your family tree is no longer rooted in the dry soil of lack, it is rooted in the uncapped rivers of kingdom overflow. Do not be fooled. This is not a casual motivational speech, this is an immediate, structural restructuring of your material reality. The ancient papers that labeled your family line as defaulted, restricted, or destined to fail in the dark have been permanently incinerated in the heavenly fires. The new files are loading into your physical experience as debt-free, sovereign asset holder, and generational commander. The counterfeit identity of the struggling, lonely child is exiting your atmosphere forever. The original authority of the chain breaker is occupying the space. The ledger is empty. The sorrow is deleted. The sovereign wealth code is active. You are moving from the panic of the family deficit to the responsibility of the eternal surplus. The frequency of lack is exterminated. The authority of the owner is final. I saw the secret meetings where they planned your family's next financial collapse, but the invisible hand has already placed an ironclad covenant guard over your name. The wealth that is breaking through tomorrow morning cannot be claimed by the past, cannot be intercepted by the enemy, and cannot be touched by the spirits of limitation. You are moving into permanent, unshakable abundance. The safe is open. Your bloodline is cleared. Your new legacy era is live. You are secure in the ledger of the Almighty. There is an absolute, immutable law of divine justice operating within the highest echelons of the spirit realm that decrees that whenever a chosen soul has been systematically targeted, emotionally drained, and financially stripped by the matrix of scarcity, the ultimate reversal will not be a slow, agonizing process of linear recovery. It will be a sudden, catastrophic explosion of supernatural restoration. The long, exhausting decades of you watching your parents live on the knife edge of survival, the silent humiliation of having your private ambitions mocked by your circumstances, and the heavy, suffocating anxiety that has kept you awake during the dead of night have officially reached their absolute expiration date in the courts of heaven. I am here to build a fierce, indestructible certainty in your soul tonight. The entire architecture of generational deprivation and unanswered weeping in your family line is being completely obliterated by the midnight confirmation. Heaven has just authorized an immediate, high-velocity material settlement that will completely bypass every traditional economic cycle, every corporate bottleneck, and every slow-moving parameter of the natural world. God is not just throwing you a small financial lifeline or offering you a temporary moment of comfort, He is forcefully executing a mandatory 10x sovereign restitution that is being violently debited from the hidden storehouses of your oppressors to establish you as the ultimate asset owner of your lineage. Do not be fooled by the historical limitations of your last name or the current, cold reality of the numbers sitting in your checking account right now. In the United States, you are constantly conditioned by a highly rigid, superficial economic grid to believe that accumulating generational wealth requires multiple lifespans of slow, grinding physical labor, that you are legally bound to die in the exact same tax bracket you were born into, and that your family must stay permanently restricted to a lifetime of borrowing, renting, and scraping by. But I am here to completely interrupt that systemic brainwashing with an uncompromising, absolute prophetic mandate. The invisible hand is currently compressing 36 years of withheld interest, stolen opportunities, and unrewarded labor into a single, high-velocity atmospheric event. I am delivering an explicit, time-stamped ultimatum to your spirit. Before 12 a.m. hits your clock tomorrow morning, a sovereign shift will manifest in your immediate physical reality. You will receive an unprecedented piece of news regarding a deep, secret desire you thought was impossible, an instant physical breakthrough, an unexplainable legacy contract, or a sudden bank notification that will leave your natural human intellect completely paralyzed with shock. This is the official arrival of your family's new era. I have seen the whispers you could not hear. I heard the spirits of deficit and chronic discouragement celebrating the fact that no one in your ancestral line had ever broken past the glass ceiling of survival. They stood over your childhood home, holding up your family's past bankruptcies, debt notices, and emotional breakdowns as permanent trophies of their victory. They whispered directly into your subconscious that you were arrogant for even dreaming of true, liquid multi-million-dollar freedom, that your bloodline was spiritually locked into the frequency of the struggling employee, and that you would die answering to an earthly master just like those who came before you. They set hidden traps to ensure that the exact moment you began to gather any real creative or financial momentum, a sudden emergency or an unexplainable loss would emerge from the shadows to drain your reserves back to zero. But the sovereign Lord of the universe has stepped into the grand courtroom of your lineage and shattered their trophies to absolute dust. He has issued a supreme restitution mandate, ordering an immediate, forced debit from the accounts of those who profited off your family's silent tears. The wealth they hoarded while you were weeping is being legally transferred to your custody this very hour. Do not get fooled into looking for a small, ordinary financial blessing that will only cover your immediate monthly expenses, clear your minor credit card balances, or give you a brief moment of breathing room. Low-level survival is the frequency of the slave, but this shift is designing the chain breaker. The invisible hand is dropping an overwhelming 10x capital surplus into your hands to completely transition your status from a financial casualty into a sovereign governor of assets. The deep, heavy, ancestral trauma that has dictated your family's choices for over 3 decades, the constant, subconscious fear of running completely out of resources, the humiliation of having to compromise your personal dignity for a paycheck, and the dread of an unstable future, is being utterly consumed by this sudden influx of liquid wealth. You are being aggressively extracted from the bracket of the desperate and launched directly into the position of a generational wealth anchor. The financial and emotional damage of generations is being completely undone in a single midnight hour. I saw the secret meetings of the gatekeepers of the bloodline. They had already mapped out the downward financial trajectory for your children and your grandchildren, ensuring they would inherit the same credit struggles, the same housing restrictions, and the same capped income ceilings that broke your parents' youth. They thought they had successfully locked your name into the database of permanent dependency forever. But the midnight confirmation has completely blindsided their entire infrastructure. The invisible hand has bypassed their traditional gatekeeping systems and security firewalls. He is routing the assets of the oppressor straight into your possession without asking for their permission, without waiting for the natural markets to stabilize, and without checking your human qualifications or credit history. You are moving from the position of a family casualty begging for a break to the position of a sovereign landlord of legacy who commands immediate, unshakable liquidity. In the United States, you are surrounded by a secular culture that tells you that you are entirely defined by your current tax bracket, your corporate ladder, and your immediate bank routing numbers. But I am here to command an absolute supernatural override of that broken Babylonian protocol tonight. There is an immediate, aggressive currency relocation happening in your atmosphere at this exact microsecond. The wealth that was legally and spiritually withheld from your grandfathers and parents through systemic fraud, deceptive employment, and ancestral blockages is being shaken loose by a celestial earthquake. The enemy thought he could wear your family out by extending the financial drought for decades, but he did not realize that God was compressing the financial reign of your entire future lineage into a single, explosive midnight cloud. That cloud is bursting over your house before the clock strikes 12 tomorrow morning. I have seen the whispers you could not hear, and I am deleting them with a loud, terrifying roar of this divine settlement. The adversary is absolutely terrified of what is about to hit your device. He knows that the moment that legacy news or bank alert materializes, his ability to control your family through fear, anxiety, and desperation is permanently broken. He has kept your family broke to keep your bloodline quiet, but by sending this 10x restitution payout, heaven is completely funding your family's throne. The people who looked down on your parents, who dismissed your family name, and who assumed you would always be dependent on their terms will be left completely speechless when they witness the immense, unexplainable sovereign surplus that now covers your life. They will look for a natural explanation, but there is no logic here, there is only the supreme authority of the king. Do not be fooled. This is the definitive turning point of your ancestral existence. If you turn away from this word, you are choosing to stay bound to the slow, agonizing crawl of linear struggle and passing the curse down to your children. But if you receive this aggressive restoration, you are authorizing the immediate release of the 10x payout. The safe is broken, the enemy's account is drained, and the celestial transfer is active. The old identity of insufficiency is exiting your life forever. The absolute weight of divine wealth is occupying your reality. The transfer is initiated. The codes are processing. The midnight confirmation is live. You are moving from the panic of the family shortage to the dominion of the overflow. The restriction is exterminated. The restoration is final. I saw the secret meetings where they planned your family's final economic ruin for the year 2026. But the invisible hand has already reversed the flow of the entire system. The news that is arriving before 12 a.m. cannot be blocked, cannot be reversed, and cannot be delayed by any human or demonic force. You are moving from empty-handed survival to permanent, unshakable abundance. The alert is coming. Your bloodline is unlocked, your 10x legacy wealth era is live. We have reached the absolute, dangerous flashpoint of this multi-generational transaction, the exact spiritual threshold where the abstract deliverance of your family tree must be locked into tangible physical reality. You have felt the raw weight of the silent tears in the dark, you have witnessed the tear-to-asset transformation vaporize the ancient sorrow ledgers of your grandfathers, and you have stood under the rushing downpour of the midnight confirmation as the 10x restitution surplus was redirected to your name. But I am here to deliver an uncompromising, urgent sovereign ultimatum. In the high court of heaven, there is a strict, unyielding law of spiritual execution. A cosmic bloodline relocation requires the physical confirmation of the designated chain breaker. The massive ancestral vaults have been completely shattered on your behalf, but the final release of assets demands your immediate kinetic consent. To permanently lock down the enemy's stolen hoards and prevent them from dragging your life back into the freezing dark of depression, you must execute this claim the answer command. Do not be fooled by the deceptive silence of the room you are sitting in or the seemingly simple act of typing on a digital screen. In the United States, you are constantly surrounded by a shallow, secular, surface-level culture that treats words as meaningless vibrations and digital commitments as disposable text. But I am here to completely interrupt that modern blindness. Your response right now is not an engagement metric for a digital platform. It is your official spiritual signature on the celestial contract of bloodline release. Right now, the invisible hand is standing over the central master console of your lineage's destiny, his finger poised directly over the release button. But the final authorization is currently paused. He is waiting for you to legally step forward and confirm your identity as the first-generation millionaire of your house. If you remain a silent, passive observer, you are effectively signaling to the heavenly recorders that you accept the terms of the old slavery. You are letting your silence act as a legal waiver, allowing the enemy to maintain his chokehold over your family's future. I have seen the whispers you could not hear. I heard the spirits of generational deprivation gathering in a desperate, frantic circle at the very perimeter of your room. They are staring at your fingers on your device at this very split second. They are desperately whispering doubt into your mind, praying that you will hesitate, praying that you will feel too cynical, too prideful, or too embarrassed to type your decree. They know with absolute certainty that if they can keep you silent for just a few more seconds, the spiritual transfer will hit a catastrophic, irreversible bottleneck. Your massive 10x legacy breakthrough will be marked as refused and automatically sent back to a state of permanent freeze. The enemy will instantly regain legal custody of your funds, relocking their vaults, and leaving your children's destiny trapped in the exact same cycle of exhaustion, anxiety, and rental dependency that broke your parents. But I am commanding you to completely smash their schemes right now. I am commanding you to log your confirmation into the heavenly database by typing in the comments immediately, "Prayers answered" or "My tears turned into wealth." Do not get fooled. This is the definitive fast-forward mechanism for your family's capital. The moment you type those words, you are performing an aggressive, spiritual takeover of the assets that were hoarded through your ancestral bloodline since 1990. You are driving a legal stake into the spiritual ledger and declaring to every spirit of hereditary debt, every corporate oppressor, and every demonic gatekeeper that their hold over your surname is totally broken. You are trading your years of family starvation for his boundless liquidity. If you choose to ignore this explicit directive, you are choosing to wake up tomorrow morning to the exact same limitations, the same empty balances, and the same quiet desperation your parents endured. Your miracle will remain frozen in a state of eternal suspension because the heir refused to sign the release form. I saw the secret meetings of the celestial treasurers. They are standing at absolute attention right now, waiting for the frequency of your specific response. They cannot drop the millions of dollars in spiritual equity into a household that refuses to declare its ownership. Your written command is the active key that shatters the enemy's freezing mechanisms. When you type "Prayers answered," you are completely neutralizing the financial blockades that have paralyzed your family's real estate dreams and your investment opportunities. You are telling every force of economic manipulation that their jurisdiction over your children's lifestyle is entirely null and void. You are executing the sovereign decree of the king over your financial timeline. In the United States, you are trained by the secular system to operate in a spirit of doubt, to wait for physical proof before you dare to speak with authority. But I am here to command a total reversal of that broken protocol tonight. In the courts of the sovereign, your decree creates the materialization. Your word forces the physical realm to realign. Your long-standing family panic has been a counterfeit security blanket that you have held onto out of sheer habit. Tonight, you must violently tear that blanket away. You must trade the comfortable, predictable rhythm of your struggle for the terrifying, explosive velocity of supernatural supply. I am commanding a full-scale spiritual riot against your financial status quo. Type the word. Sign the ledger. Release the flood. I have seen the whispers you could not hear, and I am deleting them right now with the roaring sound of this sudden release. The adversary is absolutely terrified of what happens when your fingers touch that keyboard. He knows that the moment you enter your code into the registry, his legal right to hold your resources hostage is completely terminated. He has kept your bloodline broke for decades for one reason: to keep your mouth closed. But by publicly writing "My tears turned into wealth," you are officially taking your seat as a chief manager of the kingdom's wealth. You are forcing your financial file out of the enemy's processing center and triggering an instantaneous distribution of assets. Do not be fooled. The invisible hand will never force his abundance into a life that remains silent and unaligned. He requires your active confirmation to drop the wealth of the oppressor into your lap. This text is your literal digital passcode. Without it, the midnight confirmation remains a distant possibility rather than an immediate possession. But with it, the transfer becomes completely unstoppable. The release becomes irreversible. The wealth becomes manifest. I saw the secret meetings of the registrars of glory. They are updating your spiritual bank balances the very microsecond you execute this command. They are clearing the red ink of your family's debts and inputting the massive sovereign surplus. You are moving from the panic of the shortage to the dominion of the master. The old frequency of lack is dead the moment you authorize its exit. The immense vault is live the moment you claim its contents. The command is issued. The registry is open. The pen is in your hands. Do not hesitate for a single second. Do not negotiate with your past failures. Prayers answered. Type it with the heavy authority of a ruler. My tears turned into wealth. Write it with the absolute certainty of an owner. You are entering the sanctuary of the fully funded. The invisible hand has pre-approved the payout. Now you must finalize the delivery. I have seen the whispers you could not hear, and I am deleting them with the pulse of the eternal covenant. The freeze is broken. The sovereign vault is open. You are safe in the authorization of the Almighty. You are secure in the treasury of the King. The shortage is exiting. The overflow of God is occupying. The confirmation is final. The hidden tears that soaked your pillow in the dead of night have been violently transformed into tangible spiritual assets. The ancient sorrow ledgers that kept your parents locked in a lifetime of financial humiliation since 1990 have been completely incinerated in the unyielding fire of the celestial courts, and your name has been officially registered as the primary wealth anchor of your entire lineage. As I look at you right now through the scanning lens of the spirit realm, the forgotten, heartbroken casualty who clicked on this transmission carrying a suffocating weight of abandonment no longer exists. You have been entirely restructured at the deepest layer of your identity. You are no longer an economic survivor begging for a crumbs level break. You are a sovereign custodian of restitution established as an authenticated vault commander over a massive, newly opened river of capital. But hear me with an absolute, chilling clarity, and let a holy, trembling terror seize your soul before this broadcast darkens. A newly opened treasury is the prime target for a catastrophic, vengeful counterattack from the spirits of scarcity. You are entering the terminal phase of the finality, and your assignment is no longer just to weep in gratitude. It is the ruthless, unyielding defense of your family's newly established financial peace. Welcome to the Covenant Fortress. Do not be fooled into thinking that the enemy will simply watch you step into a 10x restoration layout without trying to drag your mind back into the freezing dark of depression and lack. In the United States, you are surrounded by a shallow, casual social environment that teaches you that once an emotional relief is felt, you can just wander away, live without vigilance, and remain completely indifferent to spiritual protocols. But I am here to interrupt that fatal delusion with a severe, chilling warning. The exact microsecond you close this video and step away from this frequency, the thieves of the inheritance are going to deploy their most vicious, undercover demonic hackers to track your coordinates. They are waiting for you to drop your guard. They are praying that you treat this historic materialization of your prayers as a temporary emotional high rather than an eternal, life and death covenant. I am commanding you to immediately build your protection circle. This circle, this absolute, unyielding commitment to lock your connection into this sanctuary by hitting that subscribe button right now, is not a casual media metric, it is your literal spiritual security lock for your new financial peace. If you choose to step outside of this protection circle, if you walk away from this altar thinking you can maintain this massive new velocity of abundance on your own, you are signing a legal warrant for your own sudden collapse. The second you disconnect from this continuous broadcast, the fortress wall falls. The enemy will see you completely uncovered and will immediately launch a brutal, retaliatory spiritual attack against your mind and your accounts. They will hack into your hope, reintroduce the unexplainable emergencies, and shrink your family's boundaries right back to the microscopic cage of silent trauma your parents spent 36 years crying inside of. You will find yourself right back where you started, watching your dreams wither, watching your cash flow leak out of your hands, and lying awake in the dark drowning in the same old panic that has haunted your house for decades. I have seen the whispers you could not hear. I see the spirits of disguised scarcity standing right outside your door at this very second, watching your fingers on your device. They are counting on your carelessness. They are betting that you will be too lazy, too distracted, or too prideful to lock your subscription into this fortress. And hear me closely, it breaks my heart to deliver this truth to you, but your negligence in this final hour does not just ruin your personal future, it deeply, profoundly grieves the heart of Almighty God. It causes the Creator of the universe to weep over your life out of sheer sorrow for your laziness. Think of the agonizing, staggering cost that was paid to buy your financial and emotional freedom tonight. Think of the man of sorrows, Jesus Christ, hanging on a brutal wooden cross, his body stripped completely naked, his flesh torn to pieces, crying out in absolute agony as he took the full, crushing weight of your generational poverty, your rejections, your heartbreaks, and your unsaid midnight prayers into his own innocent soul. He allowed his own blood to pour onto the dry dirt, he allowed himself to be completely abandoned by his companions, and he endured the absolute deficit of death so that your family could be granted the keys to an infinite kingdom estate. Every single tear you have dropped since 1990 was answered when he gave up his final breath on that mountain. How dare you treat his agony as a cheap, disposable internet video? How can you look at the bleeding wounds of your Savior, who broke the banks of hell to fund your life, and then walk away from his fortress because you were too careless to stay connected? When you turn your back on this protection circle, you are looking directly into the weeping eyes of God and telling him that his son's sacrifice wasn't worth your commitment. You are making the Father hide his face in deep sorrow, watching his child willingly hand the keys of the newly opened vault back to the very demons that tortured their lineage. Do not make him withdraw his hand of protection from your household. Do not force the spirit of restitution to depart from your borders because you treated his holy covenant like a common game. Do not get fooled. This is your final ultimatum. This channel is your digital altar of multi-generational momentum, the precise spiritual fuel station where you are legally required to check in every single night to receive your daily territorial updates. These nightly briefings are the only things that will instruct your spirit on how to govern, protect, and multiply the massive capital that is collapsing into your life over the next 10 days. By hitting that subscribe button and activating your notification bell, you are not just watching a creator, you are arming the laser security system of heaven around your bank accounts, your real estate dreams, and your children's destiny. You are completely vandalizing the enemy's last hope of reclaiming your peace. You are sealing the walls of the covenant fortress. I saw the secret meetings of the gatekeepers of lack. They are standing there with smirks on their faces, whispering, "Just wait." They will watch, they will feel powerful for an hour, but they won't lock in the connection. They will walk away unsubscribed, and by midnight, we will reoccupy their mind with depression and take back every single dollar that heaven released. I am commanding a full-scale spiritual riot against their malicious expectations. Do not let them win. Do not let them mock the tears of Christ. Hit the button. Lock the circle. Stand inside the fortress and refuse to move. As we seal this sovereign session, look at the weeping, bleeding king who holds your phone in his hands in the spirit realm. He is looking at you through the tears of the ultimate sacrifice, whispering, "I gave up my life so your family could own this ground. Do not walk away from me. Stay in the safe. Protect what I died to buy for you." Walk out of this moment with the heavy, terrifying majesty of a ruler who knows they are guarded by the armies of the Lord. You are safe inside the fortress of the answered prayer. You are secure in the covenant of the King. The small life is permanently exterminated. The vast domain is eternally occupied. The circle is locked. The fortress is armed. The subscription is your shield. Do not grieve the Father. Do not betray the Son. Stay connected, stay sovereign, and stay alive. The despair is broken. The tears are turned to wealth. The vault is sealed forever.